Hey, look at that. We're
All
on.
right.
It's like we know what we're doing. We're trying to hide out. We're talking about pens and all kinds of crazy stuff. The good news, Tony, we're actually recording this one.
Good morning. Excellent.
We got the timer rolling here. We're going to talk about today. Is this house the one, or am I just buying the David Bowie Under Pressure, the move up home reality check, if you will?
Yeah, getting that dream house that you've dreamt of. You lived in the house, the starter home for long enough. Family's growing. It's time to graduate.
There we go. So what more than a graduation than putting together a checklist, right? So how can we figure out, is this house going to be the one? And then in our next episode, we will talk about actually executing that. But let's come to terms with maybe how to do it, right? We talk about process orientation. You're very process oriented in the sales process. We're process oriented in the finance process. Would it be any surprise that we had a checklist for this?
Absolutely.
All right. So we'll put a scoring system together here, right? So we're going to go through some questions, and we can always send this thing out too. But if you're confident in the answer or yes, that you can do something, 2 points. You're uncertain, we'll give it a 0. And if you're forcing it, we'll give it a -1. Part of the reason we're doing the -1 on the forcing it versus a -2, your brain's going to be twice as sensitive to a negative input than a positive.
You're predisposed to leaning more towards negative things.
Yep. So first question here, Tony. Can I imagine living in this house through a stressful financial year?
Right. Good question.
Would I still buy this home if prices are going to stop rising or appreciation rate's going to stop going up?
So am I doing it just because I'm banking on the appreciation? I don't like what I'm spending now, but it will certainly be worth more.
Am I buying the house or the pressure? So, okay, we know that these houses are going to be moving quickly. Having this checklist ready to go might help out in determining, am I getting wrapped up into something because you're there and let's be at the car dealership?
And the agent's telling you, we just got another offer. What do you want to do?
So that's how we can figure out that. Does this home or will this home reduce my overall life stress?
That one is huge and undervalued. All right. With that one, if it was a positive, I would add to what you could add on it. But we'll stick with the same scoring with it.
A multiplier. Would I figure out how to increase my earnings to keep this house? So can I pick up more overtime shifts, pick up a side hustle? Because I love this house so much, it's going to fill all the other needs.
The house, the lifestyle, is it motivating enough to get me to work more?
There we go. So we know that when you're buying a house, particularly this one, there's going to be a lot of emotion, and then we need to balance out the finances on it. What do you see, though, when you're dealing with the client that's doing this move up jump? Like what from the emotional side, like is there family inputs, competition? What are you normally seeing on this?
Absolutely. Emotional reaction always starts the sales process. All right. And then people try to use logic to justify things. This is often when fear can kick in. Fear can be healthy. That's why we have it. All right. However, sometimes it helps to try to take a step back from this anxiety and this pressure and go through that checklist of the different ways in which this affects your life. All right. Moving into a different lifestyle or different community is a different lifestyle, different types of neighbors. All right. The bigger house, what can it afford you in terms of comfort? Having the family over for those get-togethers that you used to always have to go to somebody else's house. How's that going to make you feel? How will that reflect on your children's lives?
That's it. Have you ever seen someone fall in love with the house that maybe didn't love them back financially?
Oh, 100%. 100%. And I often wonder why we're there, because there was no way that we could attain it.
Okay.
All right.
So let's talk about maybe a couple other questions or some other things that we need to maybe figure out. The reality of things, right? So does your commute time fit daily reality? Are you moving too far out and now you're going to be really pissed off because you're driving an hour and 10 minutes each way to work?
Absolutely. You've got to weigh that. Some people, they think that things are too far when really they're not. A lot of us in Northwest Indiana years ago felt like we were too far away from things. Then you get here and you're like, wow, should have gone further. All right. And then some people, you kind of have to back them down. All right. You do realize how far away we are. I know that you love the house, but is this feasible for you?
Is DeMott that far away? That's a pretty frequent question I think we get. Does the school district fit long-term plan? I know that sometimes it's a little difficult to talk about family or possibility of family there, but if you are thinking about starting a family or if you have a family, schools, access to schools, or access to private schools and location of private schools are critical things, right?
Very personal choice. And I'd love to see more parents do a little bit more research on the front of their home search process, because the ones who have, when they found that that correct school system, all right, and really the great house, it's oftentimes the glue that keeps it together, that helps you look over things that in the future, when the transaction may scare you, but in the future, you'd probably look back and think, really, that was a nothing. All right. That's a big one. How you're educating your kids, what it looks like going back and forth to the school, interaction with the parents, and everybody's on the same mindset is just enormous. If you can get into a superior environment like that, it will change your life tenfold.
That speaking very personally about that, like most people know, my wife was a teacher. We live in Lake Central School District. My oldest son started kindergarten this past year, and my wife cannot speak highly enough of it, and my son's having a great time. And
Yeah.
it's
Nothing's going to make you happier than seeing your kids thrive in a system that you're comfortable with.
So other things, right? And I think this one's a great one to ask you about: weekend travel impact. Where are you going during the weekends? What are you trying to do, right? I know that you love Western Michigan.
Absolutely. It's something that I looked at when I moved. All right. Is how long does it take me to get to Western Michigan? Where are the airports at is a big one, especially for people who have to fly for business and things like that. All right. We got to take these things into consideration. And if we find a house that we really love that checks all those boxes, that's maybe pushing the budget a little bit, but you're certainly qualified for it, this may be one of those ones where you want to push it a little bit because of, we're not going to find this again, or the time to take something to find something like this again could take 3 years of school for our kids. And by that point, they'll be pretty well ingrained in the system they're in.
There we go. All right. Other things, property constraints. We always people want 5 or 10 acres. They want to put a pole barn up. So looking at lot size, is it future proofed? Are there any restrictions? Maybe HOA surprises? I don't know. Long-term flexibility is probably one really good thing to look at right there, right?
And if those check your boxes, especially on a property like that, and maybe have a few detriments with the house, but all the rest of those check your boxes, that's a fantastic property for you.
So can the property grow with you? Maybe that's the right question.
Absolutely.
Right there, right?
Something great to look at.
All right. So now let's talk about the finances of all of this stuff here, right? So let's talk real quick, and then we'll run through some of the other stuff the next episode. But do you have money left when you go to after you purchase this home? I think it's a very valuable thing to know about. Are your taxes and insurance sustainable? Are there any HOAs or mandatory fees that you're going to run into? I know we don't really have it here, but there's some, like you get down to Florida, you have mandatory clubhouse or mandatory golf memberships and stuff like that too.
What are your real expenses? What is your budget and your buffer? And do you feel like with this house, your buffer is going to be sufficient?
All right, we're going to overtime here. Could we still afford this home if our income paused for 3 months, right? We had that very generic question earlier about a financially stressful year. I think one of the questions you could ask there is, if I don't receive income for 3 months, can I still make this mortgage payment?
Absolutely. Most move up buyers, if you're in the move up class, you certainly ought to be in the 3 months minimum thing. And if you have that comfort, fantastic.
Other questions asked: if the insurance or taxes jump 20 to 30%, can I still afford this house?
Yep. Prices go up. You're in a new level. All right. And can you afford fluctuations within that level? And if we're checking all these boxes, yes, time to buy. If we're getting a lot of those, what are they, the -1 scores on these things, probably pump the brakes.
All right. And then the last one on the finances: what happens when a $10,000 or $15,000 repair hits? Can I pay cash for it? So do I have some, what do you want to call it? Budget for capital improvements?
This is our buffer in our budget. All right. Any good financial planner is going to put together some form of buffer. You should as well. HVAC on something like, a 5,000 square foot house, you're probably going to have 2 units. All right. So you're double whatever you were in the house you were in before. You're going to have a bigger roof. All right. You're going to have to look at these things. If these are well within the comfort zone, we need to rationalize the new expenses and just understand that that's part of owning a larger house. That's life, just like you did when you bought your first home years ago and you were freaking about getting that first payment or something going wrong. You made it through that. Now you're at a new level. You've graduated to the next level of expense. All right.
Yeah, climbing up the expense ladder. But I think if you look at it from the financial stress test, if one bad quarter financially is going to make that house feel heavy, probably not the one.
Back off.
All right. So back to our scoring here, right? So we worked through those questions. I would say anywhere in that 22 to 24 points, it's probably the house for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
15 to 23, you need to talk to Tony and Tony a little bit more about it. Figure out that budget a little bit more. Figure out maybe a little bit more about the school district or lot restrictions, all of that stuff. But if you're under 15, you're just going for a ride.
Yeah, absolutely. If you have some trepidation about making these decisions, you should really pause, regroup, maybe have a conversation with your spouse about what you want your life to look like relative to what your budget is, what is realistically achievable. However, if you go back to that and realize things are realistically achievable for you to meet those goals, I personally, because I've moved up, many of us have, see how much it changes your life being around different people in that other level. Your kids, your family, all of those intangible things are exceedingly valuable.
Clarity first, strategy second. No three putts because we definitely don't want any bogeys on there. Anything else?
No, I think we covered it quite well. I'm looking forward to how do we get in there and how do we actually qualify.
That's gonna be the fun part. That's your expertise right there. Tony is a master at making a buyer's offer appear as strong as it possibly can. So we'll be covering that in 3 weeks. Anything else?
Nope, I'm looking forward to it.
All right,
take care.
We're out.
I'm done. Cut the show.